children's book. Oh, you know what? Forgot to put the mic close. The mic. So this one's called Children's Book. Children's Book. So it is Wednesday, November 28th, 2018. And I just finished Why I'm Right. I think I just convinced myself to finish that book. That would be a good addition. I think I'm going to try to do that one by the end of December. I'll add that to the other two that I'm selling right now. That's good. So we'll have Good Barracks Manifesto, the Tao of Shaz, Tao Te Shaz, the Way of the Virtuous Shaz, and Why I'm Right. That's good. So I have a book of values, spiritual ethical truths, morality, a book of adapted Zen Buddhism, a little bit sharpened, which is the Good Barracks Manifesto. So I have the values, which will be the Tao, and then or the Zen, not Tao, which became Zen. And then I have, so the values are Tao, the way of life. Try to fit within this pattern of life, which allows for efficiency or whatever you want to call it. The highest form of post-conventional morality, universal and spiritual. And then we have Zen Buddhism, which is a school, a philosophy. So now we have spiritual ethics, and then we have philosophy, which is those tradition of the spiritual ethics put into practice with liturgy and canon, and really took hold in Japan. So we have great scholars going back over a millennia to study from, and we can watch the evolution of that spiritual ethics transformed into a practice which brought us possibly the highest form of martial arts, not Tibetan, but what is it, the Kung Fu monks, Shaolin. And then, it'd be nice to see a Shaolin monk fight in the MMA. Maybe that stuff has been surpassed by modern martial arts. So we have the values of the Tao, which I rewrote, and then the philosophy of Zen Buddhism, which I've adapted, and then which is the application of Tao very much within a practice and within a geographic and cultural setting, which really saw the flourishing in Japan. And then and then the third book could be Why I'm Right, which is taking George Orwell, out of the Western canon. And all of these are interpretations, so that way they're not beholden to my ego or my creativity alone, but I'm taking my inspiration, adding it onto other forms. And that would be Why I Write, George Orwell's Why I Write, and then Why I'm Right, my interpretation will be a defense of pacifism, which is an application of the spiritual ethics, and then the philosophy, and then a statement on the modern state of things. So that's pretty good. We'll see if I can finish that. That was yesterday, and that took 5 hours. So today we're probably going to put in 4 hours. I do 4 to 5 hours a day. Sun will start setting behind me around 5 o'clock. And we are going to do children's book. Children's book. A good workout will leave you tired. I'm a little drained from this morning's workout. It was a good workout. I'm busted my ass. That's good. That's what you want to do. I remember going to the gym and feeling so dizzy that you almost pass out as you're leaving the gym floor. That's a very good feeling, to feel like you left everything out there. I wasn't like that today. But I was stumbling. I stumbled out of there because it was leg day. And I told myself in one of these earlier videos that I've been neglecting my deep squats. So today, I bit the bullet. If you're working out and you're hesitant towards a exercise in your mind as you stretch or as you make your way to the gym, you're like, oh, I'm not looking forward to that. Do that as your first exercise. It'll be hard, but if you don't have a habit of doing hard things, then what type of success are you going to have in life? So grind through the hardest one first, and then everything's downhill from there. So then as you're going through the workout you don't really want to do. I mean, what is to want or not want something? If you want the reward, then you want to do it. And just because the process is hard, well, if you want the reward, then you have to enjoy the process. That's what reading Arnold, the guy that I make fun of, Arnold Schwarzenegger, him and Terry Crews, the guys who put so much effort and have so much success with their bodies, they preach that you really have to enjoy the process. If that's not your vacation, going to the gym should be the thing that you enjoy. Otherwise, you're torturing yourself. So it's not that hard to, and that's where I guess Tao or Eastern philosophy, a practice of looking at things in different ways, helps out. The thing which you don't enjoy can also be the thing which you enjoy. Everything is its opposite. So I did the deep squats first, and I might have been complaining and dragging my feet up there, but once I did them, it felt really good to do them. Such light weights. I think I need to get on that. That's really good, useful strength for life that I neglect. But yes, I only had like 25-pound plates on either side of a 45-pound bar. But I did those. It's all about the form when you're doing an exercise you haven't done in a while. And then hopefully within a couple weeks I get up to 45 pounds on either side. I haven't really gotten past that. Maybe I did 55 pounds. It'd be nice to get like 2 plates on either side, 3 plates on either side. That'd be some respectable deep squats. But it's more important about the form than it is about the weight, especially when you're an old man or you're approaching your 30s, 40s. I've never really had a serious injury working out. I tweaked my shoulder multiple times in wrestling in high school, where I couldn't even lift it past that. I remember that's how I copped out of one of the tournaments. I'm the captain, but I didn't put the most effort into wrestling, so some weekends I would go to like speech and debate. Didn't put the most effort into speech and debate, but there's a thing called, I think, impromptu, where you get to just speak for 5 minutes. I'm good at that, so I did decent at that. But I remember this tournament, I was at the speech and debate tournament instead of the wrestling tournament for that weekend. It was like in the winter. I think wrestling goes from like December to February, and I couldn't raise my arm past shoulder height. We had a push-up contest for like a charity in the wrestling room where people pledged to donate so much based on how many push-ups you can do, and I just went past exhaustion to like I hurt myself. And ever since then my arm's been kind of, if you work out, that's why you work out. That's why I talk about sex and women. These things that you practice, you get better at, and you check your blind spots, your biases. You want to correct towards truth. No one's born with truth. We just accumulate, we learn, take the good, we leave the bad. Take the both, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. So, yeah, what was I saying? Working out. I've always kind of had to baby this shoulder. There's a couple other tweaks probably in my body, but that's a main one. Maybe my knees sometimes. As you get older, your knees start wearing down. That's why I do the deep squats. Because anything, you know what? I should have done Bulgarian split squats. I told myself I was going to do that. In the morning, as I'm waking up and I'm going to the gym, I'm thinking, all right, what should I do today? And you're checking in with your body. Bulgarian split squats are when you stand with your legs separated, and the back leg is, and what's my back leg up there? He's resting on a bench or something. And then you go down and then back up, down and then back up. So this back leg, he's on a bench. We'll call this guy the bench. And so you're only using the front leg. And you go down, down, and then back up, down, and then back up. And so it's really about working out this front leg, and you're immobilizing the back leg. If you immobilize your body, now you only need half the weight. That one you can kill yourself with just like 20, 30, 40-pound dumbbells in each hand. Now you're doing 80 pounds on that one leg. So for someone who doesn't really train up their legs like myself, or like most people who work out, probably leg day is the day we like to skip. That helps you isolate. And same thing for working out chest, free weights, more full range of motion than we're using a bar. And now if you're using one arm free weights, that's even more. But I never really got into that. But it's interesting. I've seen people do that on a medicine ball or something, and they're doing one arm presses. But I feel like you need that balance. You might be overcorrecting too much. I do one arm rows. I love those because when you stabilize, you get into like a squatting position. Anytime I'm working out, I try to solidify my core. You can just tighten your core a little bit. So arch your back a little bit, tighten your core, and I'll go in front of a rowing machine that has the single handles. And I'll just keep myself looking in the mirror as steady as possible as I do a one arm row. And so now I'm not only doing the row, but now just that strength of holding yourself in place is making your core tighter, I think. I've always neglected sit-ups too, because I figure, I don't care. I don't mind being a little pudgy, soft in the middle. But these last couple of weeks I've been doing my sit-ups too, which is good. So all of this, if you've ever done a martial arts or a sport, and I was the captain, so I had to keep other people in line, in high school at least. My few limited amounts of leadership in my life. And then I had some employees when I had a real estate company. Every now and then I would hire on people and then get rid of them because figuring out how to train other people up to my standard. But I've always been pretty smart about my body and about keeping myself honest. So the self-honesty that goes into the intellectual and creative pursuits also is physical stuff is another way to practice that. That's why you respect these people who do this with their bodies. Steroids, that other stuff only gets you a little bit at the top. You still have to put the work in. You could take all the steroids in the world, that doesn't lift the weights for you. So you could say that's cheating. It's not. I wouldn't do anything that interfered with my sexuality. People who take pills for their hair and it interferes with it gives you erectile dysfunction. I think that those are funny trade-offs. My sex life is kind of important to me. I am not vain enough to do something superficially to interfere with something that I think is a part of your wisdom tradition. Getting to know the opposite sex, in my case, through physical and spiritual means is a very important part of my rounding out the wisdom that I gather from life. But yeah, I've done creatine. And even creatine is a little hard on your liver, I think. You definitely don't want to be drinking when you're doing stuff like that. But creatine, and also what I find is the effects of that go off. You use it and then you get pumped up and it helps you build muscle faster, I think. But some of that might just be retaining water. And when I stop, I notice there is a little bit of deflation. So right now we're doing it old school. I just had 2 bean and cheese burritos. I'm just eating a lot. You could call that a sloppy bulk. So I'm going to gain some muscle and some strength and probably be a little pudgy by the end of this. I think I'm checking in. I'm trying not to look in the mirror too much, but by the end of December, I'll have about 7 weeks into this program, and hopefully I've earned most of my strength back is the goal. So we will see. I will check in. That's on my mind now because my butt's sore because I did those deep squats for the first time, which were really nice. So deadlift, anything that's like, I call it strengthening the kinetic chain. I don't know if that's true or not, but any compound movements, clean and jerk, I don't do those. I should, but you can do the little isolation movements or using even the machines. But the more you get into free weights and the more you get into a larger movement, you want to have a good technique, but you're strengthening all these little helper muscles, I think, and you're helping the whole chain from your feet muscles to your knees to your legs. So when you do the deep squats, I take off my shoes so my feet are actually on the ground. Check out your form. Look in the mirror. There's a really good mirror right next to it. I'm going to the YMCA. So you can see that the bar is going straight up and down. Well, I did in the Smith machine, so they just kept the bar straight up and down. But I could see that it's going down to my ankles and then up through the center of my body, out my shoulders. So I'm not leaning too much one way or another. So that was good. It was a good workout. I feel tired, and I'm going to sleep well. Well, not now. I got my coffee. Shouldn't really be drinking too much coffee when you're working out, but try to drink a lot of water too. So that's why Shaz, he's not depressed. He's just a little tired from this workout, which is good. Good way to start the day. Yeah, and it's a good practice. It's a practice which I think helps you accumulate wisdom like all these other practices we talk about. I guess that relates to children's book because children's book is a picture of myself with a mustache and then a child with a caterpillar instead of the mustache. What can we talk about this? Well, I drew this as a sketch to put it next to a poem, but then the poem is separate. I am going to talk about the poem in a separate video. I'll just do both of these as 20-minute videos. We have to catch up. We have like 60 videos left to do. It's a lot of videos. I'm going to be done probably at this pace mid-December. And we do have to try to find some pots of gold at the end of this rainbow. So it's a good little pace. End of December, I'll have my strength back and I'll have this project done. And we will be seeing how much money can Shaz finagle out of the universe to start his next adventure, continue the old adventure. This is a little bit out of the timeline. I did that while I was on the road with Shah doing the citizens audit. We'd be these spurts of creativity, so we're getting reinforced with, positive reinforcement from the world that, man, people actually are out there wanting to talk about civics, and they have a lot more in common than our popular narratives would have us believe. Our popular narratives say that there's Democrats and there's Republicans, and the Republicans are ignorant, knuckle-dragging breeders, and the Democrats are ivory tower, Ivy League, identitarian, baby-killing, eunuchs. I don't know. But when you talk to people, well, just one has certain values that they prioritize and the other has certain values they prioritize. Both of them condemn our current state of government equally. And this year, I've been paying more attention to the narratives, and also because I was invested in society for 5 or 6 years. Most of my life I haven't been. I've kept on the outer fringes through poverty, through a lot of traveling, through starting and stopping jobs. And as I do these videos and do this slow over probably 6-8 weeks now, by the end of it will be a month or two review of my life granularly, and I'll probably get deeper next year when I do a review of this stuff. I'm realizing just how much I've kept myself out of society purposefully, because sometimes you try to edit out your insecurities, but you still feel bad when you pursue a girl and you feel kind of inadequate because you don't have a Dodge Charger, or when you have a job and you quit and everyone tells you keep quitting everything in life, you're just lazy. But that's why the hard work is important. Every morning I kill the lazy person through sweat. I sweat him out. So having moments in your life when you work really hard and you leave it on the floor of the gym reminds you you're not lazy. So then when you don't want to do something, you can take that off the table. Well, I know I'm not lazy. I know that I'm willing to work. So there's something else here, because I feel like some people, and some of these bodybuilders I mentioned, Terry Crews has a quote. He says, what does he say? Let me look up the Terry Crews quote, because he's been nothing but a cool guy, it seems, in his life. He's a little bit ignorant in certain respects, but he admits his ignorance. That's why do I like Terry Crews more than Arnold Schwarzenegger? He admits that, maybe I'm addicted to porn or this or that, and I don't agree with him, and I think he's a little bit ignorant in certain things, but since he's living in a transparent way, we're able to notice his blind spots, and then that way I can correct him, or at least not take in or see where he's coming from, so I can avoid what pitfalls he's falling in. And that's what I'm trying to do with my transparency. If something I'm saying or acting about, I know with the sex stuff and girls, I do have a lot to learn, because I'm a dude, and being a late bloomer and probably overcompensating in my old age, and not in my old age, in my current age, but I've seen these guys who in their 50s and 60s are still playing around, and maybe that's my fate, maybe not. But if I live honestly and transparently, people who listen to me, or even when I listen to myself, because this is all first and foremost for myself, can hopefully avoid pitfalls that no one lives a perfect life. So everyone's going to have their issues. But people like Terry who openly talk about the things they struggle with, like he said about raising his kid and trying to get into computers so he can be more of a relationship with his kid, or about the issues he has with pornography, is like that. Even if he is, I disagree with him on his approach on things, like I'm going to bring up a quote, uh, I since he's living honestly, that's a person after my own heart, because we'll all correct each other towards the truth. Honest, sincere discussions all we owe each other. We don't owe each other perfection. That would be a fallacy, and that would be judgmental. So it's like when I think about people I don't agree with how they live, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or someone, what I don't agree with is the mendacity and the lies. It seems like Terry is the type of guy who's openly, honestly trying to work on his relationships with his wife, with his son, with the internet, which is why maybe the internet loves him. And even how he's dealing with that sexual harassment, some of that maybe I don't agree with, or other stuff when he's like, man, someone grabbed my taint or grabbed his ass towards his crotch, and he's like, as a black man, I couldn't do anything wrong. As a Mexican American, as whatever you want to call me, I've always tried to be myself. So, um, someone grabbed me in a bar once. I was playing pool with these guys, and I get drunk and rowdy sometimes. So I'm having my once a month, once in a blue moon, drunken rowdiness, letting the Irish out, and making friends. And we're playing pool. Picked up pool in the military, so drink, smoke, play guitar, and play pool. That's 4 things I learned in the military. Um, I'm this guy, we're being cool, and it's in the village, so I was pretty sure they were gay. And then me and some other people, and we're talking, and with my brother and having hung around gay people, sometimes I flirt a little bit, or we just joke. I have a high tolerance. It's like, you're not going to make me feel weird. Even when I was in the Army, the gay guys who were getting chaptered out, when I was getting chaptered out, we all like were a crew of misfits, so they try to gross you out sometimes. You're like, but it's not, they don't touch you. It's just like they were showing us gay porn once, and all the straight guys were like, ah, and then they were showing us like dudes fisting each other in the ass, and just stuff you do as boys, like try to gross each other out. So like when I'm around rowdy, drunk, gay guys, I have a high tolerance, but I'm walking to the bathroom and this guy walks up and grabs my junk. He grabs me in the crotch, and that happened like once, maybe more than once, but when I was in a strip club once when I was like 18 or 19, and you're like, oh shit, we could go to strip clubs, let's go. And then you go, and it's kind of tragic. Um, I'm not saying strip clubs are all bad. I mean, even with like the girl I dated who was into sex work, but the you have to bring the energy. It's like, don't sulk in a dance bar, don't dance in a dive bar, don't sulk in a strip club, unless it's that type, and then it's that tragic energy strip club. When I went with those guys to Tahoe, we made money off that gambling trip. We went to Reno. We hit up the strip club, and then we hit up a bunny ranch. So but we brought the party. We had money. We were spending it on people. There's this one funny story. I was pretty drunk by the end of that night. Right before we went to the bunny ranch, we were like, "Where's the party?" And then that's how the cabbie shanghaied us. He was like, "I know a place," and they dropped us off. And we were like, "Oh man," we had to wait like an hour or two until they came back. One of our friends that night, I was like, I gave him each like 150 because I still had the big bucks from the winnings we had. They were losing it, but we were winning enough to keep going, but I still had the big stack. So I was like, we don't have enough. They wanted 300 a person to have sex with those prostitutes. So I was like, we don't have enough for all of us to get laid. So one of us could get laid, or here's the money, here's 150 each. Go see what you can negotiate on your own. And I talked to the madam. It was interesting. I hadn't done real estate, but that madam would be a very good real estate broker, but it's brokering. So after they do the lineup, and in my mind, I'm like, they all come down the stairs with like 20 girls, and they're thinking maybe we're hot shots. We all have like a couple grand we're gonna blow. And I'm just like, in my head, I already know, like, it's that feeling when you go into a store and you know you can't buy anything in the store, and you're like, I'm just gonna walk out of here without making an ass of myself and pretend like I have the budget. That's what people always think in their mind. Oh, this looks good. And you look at a price tag very casually, a $5,000 couture t-shirt in some like Melrose place. And you're like, oh, interesting. Yes, those are the things that I buy, but I'm not going to buy this one because it's not my style. So I'm just like, those girls are lined up and I'm just like, yes, yes. And then I go to sit down with the madam because I was the ringleader with the 2 guys behind me. And we go into this private room. It's like buying a fucking car. the small deal making room. So she's like, "What are you thinking?" And I'm like, "You know what? Honestly, we don't have like $300 on me, or like I had like 500 at the time from the 700 from us winning and then losing and then winning. Well, winning we would win decent, and then we just go spend it. That was like a good 24-hour rager. And so we were like, I was like, I don't I don't want to waste your time. We barely have a couple $100 a piece. So, and she was like, the minimum is 300. And I'm like, yeah, I figured as much. You guys, you seem pretty fancy. I was like, the cabbie brought us here. We didn't even ask to come here. We were asking for the next strip club. We were at a strip club before here, and like, she was like, yeah, yeah, they do that. And I was like, she knew that, it's a little bit, it's their fault too. We were stuck there. This was before Uber. So like literally stuck in the desert waiting for the next cab to come out to drop off the next suckers and take us home. And so so she's like, you could negotiate your individually from with the girls, but our official thing is 300. And so I go back, talk to the guys, we get together. I'm like, look at you guys, we're priced out of this, but here's some money. Do what you can on your own. I'm going to the bar. I'm out of this. I had the chance to have sex with a prostitute in Mexico before for $50. I passed up on that. So like if I was gonna have sex with a prostitute, maybe it's in my cards in the future. But for now, I didn't want that experience as a part of my history or my narrative. So I'm at the bar drinking, and they're like dusk till dawn. This bar feels like it's in that movie From Dusk Till Dawn. It's the sun is rising outside. We're at the bar just drinking for something to do because we don't want to be rude. So buying fucking $20 shitty drinks with these girls on us like vampires, just like hands on the shoulder, picking at us. And we're like, no, we don't. Because it's hard to say, like, you like the attention, but you know what they want. And you don't want to be a dick and lead them on. So you're just like, we're not, no, just. And the girls are like, come on, come in the back. And we're just drinking these shitty drinks. So I'm there drinking. And then one of the guys comes out, the guy who was going to Berkeley. So he was pretty smart. And he was in a band. They were both kids. They were both in a band. That's how I met him in Berkeley. I was doing the advertising job, and that's how I ended up at Tahoe. It was an advertising trip for the East Bay Express. They rented out a movie theater for us, and we watched Last of the Samurai. So that dates the time period. Last of the Samurai just came out, and we watched that in the movie theater with just our newspaper, our weekly crew. So they had some decent money. We hit our goals for that quarter. They promised us that trip. And then I ditched those guys as soon as I made that 700 in Tahoe. I was like, I got my friends together. I was like, we're going to Reno. Fuck the job trip. So so one of them comes out, the guy from Berkeley, and he's like, I'm like, what'd you negotiate? And he was like, bitch wanted $150 for a massage. And I was like, did you do it? He was like, fuck no. And I was like, yeah, that's right. I knew that was gonna be bullshit. I didn't even try. So me and him were just drinking, and then we're like, I forgot the guy's name. He had a kid. He was a talker. I wasn't as much approaching girls then, but if you have some friends, usually one of them has already broken that seal. And this guy was a talker. He would go out, and when we were in Reno, he went and got us a group of girls. We were 3 guys. He went and found 3 girls and brought them over to our group. So he was pretty good at that stuff. He was the mouth. And usually they're not the most physically gifted, and so I guess that's their thing. And then the guy who was going to Berkeley was the cute one, and I guess I was the money guy. So we're like, where's homeboy? And then like he doesn't come out for like a half hour, and then he comes out saying, I just got the best massage I've ever gotten. And we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, and I bet it cost 150 too. He was like, yeah, no, but it was amazing. I think she might have given him a hand job, but those girls, if it's a slow night, but it's up to them to cut those deals. And then finally a cab came and took us back. And then we slept barely. And then we went and we blew the rest of the money on a hungover. Like, let's just get out of here. But the rule was I wasn't going to go home until we were at 0. So that morning we're just hungover, playing blackjack until finally we lose it all. Just breaking all the rules at that. The Berkeley guy was the guy who taught us the rules of blackjack. If you just do these simple rules, you'll probably win. And we just kept his rules. And we were doing, maybe it was some luck, but blackjack has some pretty good odds if you have discipline, even if you're drunk. I brought up that story because I'm talking myself into good mood. I don't know. What does that have to do with my children's story? I guess this is advice for children. Oh, and I was going to say the Terry Crews. I'm finding all these loose ends that I'll have to wrap now that I'm getting to 30 minutes. I said I was going to do like a 20-minute video. Before we got to the prostitution place, we were in the strip club That's what I was talking about, the strip club place. And this, I'm in the back, drunk. So this is before we even get to the prostitution place. We're just drinking and gambling for a while. And this girl comes in. Yeah, this is where I want to be able to approach girls more. She sits at the bar like hot shit, and I send her a drink, and that's all I do. And then she's just hanging out. But she's hanging out for people with money and confidence. And I had a little bit of money in my pocket, but not enough confidence to get her to come over and talk to me or to go over and talk to her. But I send her a drink. And you start to learn that you need a little bit more game for the man eaters who are out there looking for like the alpha in the room or whatever. So that's cool. I'm like, yeah, someday I'll be able to approach a girl like that. And but some girl comes in. She's like, you boys want some lap dances? And we're like, yeah, we're acting like it's someone's birthday, but we just have money in our pockets. So we're like, yeah, we're like getting lap dances for each other. I'm not really into that stuff. Still being a little sensitive. Even now, it's kind of funny if there's not sincerity, but I could be. I guess I could have fun in the moment. It's good to not be too stuck up. But so I'm like, I'm not too into it. Just I'd rather like everyone have a good time. That's what strip. So if you go to a strip club and you want to have um, the, oh yeah, I was talking about the grabbing the crotch, which came from the Terry Crews thing. The if you want to, yeah. So I was in like 18, 19 years old. This stripper comes up and grabs my crotch when I'm there with a friend, and I just felt weird. Like, okay, that's what this is all about. But you have to be in that mood. So yeah, at that time in Tahoe, this is like maybe 5, 6 years later after that 18, 19-year-old thing. So I'm like 23, 24, whenever Last of the Samurai came out. And so this one girl, I'm drunk enough now that she takes me to the back room and she's just giving me lap dance after lap dance. And I thought she thought I was cute or something. But my friends had already been having fun. They joined another birthday party group, and so they're making friends, and they're in a band. They're used to like, they had a decent following in the Bay Area, and the East Bay has a pretty good underground music scene. They had a bus, and they would like drive the bus around. I think they did some touring and stuff. They had their own little adventures. I don't think they stayed together. The guy was going to graduate Berkeley and do his own thing, but while he was going to Berkeley, they had a decent band. They played some shows. Their drummer was really good. They had a Misfit cover band, and they would cover a lot of the Misfit songs. They played the Halloween song, Misfit song, at some Halloween party in Berkeley. So they had a couple like local scene stardom, but so they were having fun, finding other parties to join. I was in the back with this one girl. Didn't quite understand how it goes. I just let her do her thing, and it was dance after dance. And then finally the place is closing down. So she took me back there for a good 20 minutes. And then she asked for some money. And I was like, I wasn't going to buy a lap dance. I just thought you were being cool. And she was so pissed off. She was like, oh, really? And I was like, that was my salesmanship, no matter how drunk I was, kicked in. It was like, I didn't ask for it, so I don't think I was buying anything. I thought, but it was kind of rude of me looking back on it. This is her job, but like that was her lesson. Like, make sure you're clear on the terms before you start. Because me being silly and innocent, naive, thinking that, well, this stripper seems to have taken a liking to me, and she must be slow. So let's go hang out for a little bit. She's just dancing on me. And then I asked her if she wanted to come back to the hotel room. And that's when the bouncer got involved. And I was like, you need to get the fuck out of here. I was like, what? And then the guys told me later, they're like, you're propositioning her. If you can't ask, unless they really like you. And obviously she didn't really like me. She was trying to milk me. She thought I was drunk enough that she could kind of like take me into the back room, dance on me for a half hour, and charge me for like 5, 10 dances. But I was like, nah, I just was going along with whatever you were doing. I didn't ask for any of this. I was still coherent. Even though you get really shit-faced, you should still be a little bit there. If not, you should definitely stop drinking before that point. So we weren't blackout drunk. We were just like drunk and stumbled, but still there. So afterwards I was like, so that's a rule, I guess. Do not invite these strippers places unless you really know that they're into you or want to keep partying. So the bouncer was like, yeah, you need to go, dude. And I was like, what? And he was like, and then someone explained it to me. Yeah, you're propositioning her. And I was like, I just wanted to hang out. I thought she liked me. I thought she wanted to hang out with our crew. Nah, she was trying to get your money. I was like, well, she didn't get it. And then we went to the prostitute place, and they didn't get it either. It's interesting. So Terry Crews says, everybody says they're trying to get their piece of the pie. They don't realize that the world is a kitchen. You can make your own pie. It's cool. It's an inspirational quote. And that's something from someone who works on their body. Because we started off this talking about my workout. work on your body. Plato was the philosopher, was a wrestler, and he tried out for the Olympics. He didn't make it, but I think a lot of his philosophy also came from a physical practice. He said it's a shame in your one life to not be able to judge what your body can do. Or he said something like that. But he had a pride in physical ability. So I've always respected that. Why I did wrestling and why I'm getting back in shape now as I clear my mind mentally and I absorb the love of my parents and this home and figure out what the fuck I've been doing this last year and my whole life. Going to the gym is a good big part of it. But I feel like some of his blind spots are that is an interesting self-determination, pull yourself up by the bootstraps quote. Uh, you can make your own pie. But to extend the metaphor, the world is a kitchen with a lot of different players in it, and there's a lot of different saboteurs. Let's really explore this kitchen. Who's in it? Are we being poisoned with false narratives? Are some of these recipes poisonous? Are there better ways we could be cooking things? Some people aren't as capable of cooking or don't have as many ingredients. Should we help those people out? Should we kind of level the playing field? On those cooking shows, they don't just say, bring whatever you have at home. They give you everyone the same ingredients to begin with. So that way we can judge the competition based on your ability and not just based off of the means you're born into. Some people were, what they say about George Bush, born on third base thinking he hit a triple. That person bumblefucked their way into positions of power over and over again in their life. And then they have a right to tell us, nah. So Terry, I'm sure, built himself up. A lot of the people who really believe in hard work and determination. Arnold Schwarzenegger built himself up. I don't think that guy was given anything. I his thing is just the lying, and he could be more honest with himself and other people. But as far as work ethic, the guy's a beast. You have to be to develop your body like that. You have to learn how to grind. So that's not my minimum threshold for respect. You also, I think, should have some integrity, because there's some very terrible people in the world who have great work ethic. There's so many different ways that you can have character flaws. So lacking work ethic is one. But all of these blind spots, try to make sure I have a work ethic, but also I'm trying to make sure I put it well in something I said talking to one of the hostelers in my apartment earlier this year. I want the comfort of a what is it? I want to earn a comfortable life, but I want the dignity of my values as well. I don't want to have to sacrifice my values for comfort. But I do like comfort. And after all this wandering this year, I'm definitely going to seek comfort again. Does that relate at all to this picture? This was oh, what did I do when that guy grabbed my junk? Just to give Terry the respect of closing out that train of thought. I walked out of the bar, so I was going to try to say that I could, I guess, judge anyone harshly from afar. You really have to talk to the people and see what they're all about. So, as I think about becoming a public person, I should probably give more credit and understanding to other public figures, because I'm going to be misunderstood a lot. No matter, despite my best efforts at trying to clarify where my thoughts came from and my philosophy of just being transparent radically, and if I err, tell me about where, correct me. I'm inviting correction, but still I'm going to be misunderstood or vilified or whatever, I'm sure. So you, to dead that energy and lower those vibrations, you want to first not be putting them out. So I'm going to probably learn more and more not to judge others, and to just learn what you can and leave. And I try to remind myself of this: people only shatter against themselves. So if you believe someone's not in an efficient right path, and that's, once you're left with compassion, that's the highest moral ground. Is all you can do is have compassion for people, and if you can, offer instruction or help. That's different than judging people, I guess. So yeah, so when someone grabbed my junk in that bar a couple of years ago, I kind of shut down. Like, if something happens to you in a public place, you understand what women go through, because you don't think fight or flight. To trigger someone sexually when they're not expecting it, like a man grabbing your junk if you're not gay, gives you a weird, like, I was like shocked, because it was like it wasn't the guy wasn't intimidating. He was just a normal older gay guy in his 40s or something. But I was just shocked he would do that. It was a violation of trust. We had just played pool and talked for a couple hours, him and his friends, and then he did that and smirked at me, and I was just like, I didn't. And then I went to the bathroom because I'm on my way to the bathroom. And then from the bathroom, I just walked out of the bar. I didn't. So you kind of shut down. Anger is not your first emotion. So it's easy from the outside, and that's what I just did to Terry. Say like, yeah, I could defend myself. Anyone can defend themselves. But the way he describes it is pretty much the way I felt. Is you kind of like, is this really happening? Like, what the fuck? Like, especially when it's someone you trust. And that's someone that I think he knew in the work environment for a while. But this was someone I just met, but I thought we were bros. I thought everyone was just having a good time. So I could kind of see how, like, with a girl, like, the guy might think that he's escalating towards a sexual encounter, but the girl thought that she was pretty clear about her intentions and about this not going sexual. So when there's that miscommunication, and then you do something sexual and you trigger a response, it isn't as obvious from the outside that, oh, someone should just defend themselves. Your body goes into a weird shutdown mode. Like, betrayal of trust and sexuality and other stuff makes it so it's not an immediate anger thing. It's something else. It's like it hurts your feelings. It's like, damn, like, it's like it was just like, I look back on it, I'm kind of angry, like, oh, motherfucker, like, I should have defended myself. But that's what's shocking, is that you don't think of defending yourself at first. Because first you have to process a betrayal of trust. You have to process, wow, this is what this dude thinks of me. Not, I thought we were just being bros. So, confusion and shock can override your ability to defend yourself sometimes, which is interesting. It's scary in a way. There's some wisdom in there for our political discussions, that if you can confuse and shock people, you can override their ability to defend themselves. So that's, yeah, the emotions and the mind are interesting things. They don't just operate off of like fight or flight, and definitely they're not logically linear. So when something happens and it doesn't seem like that person defended themselves the right way, and you think, okay, well, that was willing then. That's sloppy logic. It's more complicated than that, and I've seen that in my experience. And I guess in the future is what I try to tell myself is, well, like, if that happens again, there's going to be a little bit of physical thing. Like, well, I'm a little bit more guarded. But then now I guess you understand why women sometimes are more guarded. That, like, if I'm in that situation where, like, there's teasing of sexual lines between, like, some gay males and myself, I'm going to be a little bit more quick probably to do a little, like, the guy deserved a little bit of a push or something, or what the fuck. You know, he deserved to be put on the spot. That's what it is. You made me feel uncomfortable, now you're going to feel uncomfortable. What the fuck did you just do? You just touched my fucking dick. What are we doing here? This is a public. Is that how you treat people? Just speak loud. Just bring attention and spotlight to this. Well, someone like me, a woman might not want to escalate that situation, but that would be my approach. I just stop and address it in a loud and direct manner, and then if they want to escalate it, that's fine. But we're gonna have that conversation here between me and you. So with a woman, what I've read online, there's a lot of these good forums about it. Is that I guess if people could come and help you, get you out of the situation, notice that you're feeling uncomfortable. And that's what I say about dancing or trying to hit on women or trying to figure out this dance between, from my heterosexual male perspective, learning how to dance without stepping on toes is, you never have a right to make someone feel uncomfortable or be mean to them. That's all projection. So the dance and the learning how to get attention from the opposite sex and how to convey your interest and how to display that you are worth fucking out of all these guys who might want their attention, or that you fit within. And this girl, you might not fit within her category. There might be others. So you try, and that's what I just had a Tinder date. Doesn't seem like we're fitting into each other's categories, but my category is pretty narrow right now. It was just a reminder that I'm on a unique journey, and that unique journey might annoy some people. But I don't think I made her feel uncomfortable. I'd rather have a girl annoyed at me and then just not hit me up again than me. We had a good trip. We're comfortable enough with each other to sleep with each other the first night. No sex, but we were like that's not a bad place to leave it. It's like, we made a friend, and she showed me a great time and a great experience. Now, if I pouted about not getting laid, but I've outgrown that. I would rather get laid the right way than just try to get laid. So I tried a little bit, didn't feel much reciprocation. We didn't even have the conversation. I just kind of like put my arm around her and didn't feel her escalate anything. And for me, that's enough. If we're acting like friends cuddling, but if the girl's not pushing in against you a little bit, moving her hands or doing something, that's enough for me to tell her that she's not into it. And I'll take the cuddle and run. That's the Shaz subtle way of telling if someone wants to fuck me. I've been with enough girls that like they'll do something to escalate it. So, yeah, no, I think she's looking for something a little bit less serious and more physical off the bat, and that's what she thought she was getting with me. But then I started talking about politics and crazy shit, which she has a master's degree in politics. It was cool that we had so much in common. For that Tinder just being a physical thing, we filtered through enough people that when me and her met up, it was a lot of stuff we had in common. But I just think at this point in life, I'm on this grind and the self-analysis. And she said at one point, she was like, you remind me a lot of myself when I was younger and I was analyzing a lot of stuff, but I'm kind of more in the moment now. And so I think that's where the break started happening, where, yeah. Good weed will get you in that analytic mind. But luckily we were both confident enough and had lived enough that we just kind of took it for what it was. And we had a good adventure. I think of it fondly. Where I'm leaving that in my mind is when I have some money in my pocket, I'm going to ask her if she could go out for like a meal. Keep that friend in my life, hopefully. So kid with the caterpillar on your mouth and Shaz with the mustache. Shaz, you're traveling around California at this time about politics, talking about politics, and with your girl, and having sex in the back of a Honda Civic, showering in public bathrooms. She's borrowing money from her mom to keep us going. And for some reason at one of these diners that we're eating our food at, not even buying groceries, we're eating freaking restaurant food every day, unless we're at a Airbnb. We weren't even using Airbnb, couch surfing, and those people feed us sometimes. But I stopped and was like, I need to write this poem. And so I draw this picture. And Shah's like, what the fuck are you doing? But that's what kept her, is my unique, goofy creativity. Said, no, you don't understand. We need to go out there and talk to the people. I'm running for governor. And she was like, what? She tells me still. She's like, I remember when you first told me that. She came home from work. And I was like, Shah, I have to run for governor of California. And she was like, you are absolutely insane. But on the road, I think she'll admit this, on the road after a week or two talking to people, she was like, I get it. I get it. These people, they need someone to talk to. We're providing a service. I get it. She told me that when we were driving. She was like, we were driving through like, they're having historic floods in Northern California. And so we had a couple hours on the road trying to figure out the best way to get to the next town through all these flooded out streets. And we had to change up our route multiple times. Really beautiful driving through the rain in Northern California through all those rolling hills. And she was like, I get it. We were on to something. I'm still trying to articulate what that something was. But yeah, and then I'm like, well, you know what, Shah? I need another way to articulate this. I need to write a children's book. So I drew this picture, I wrote a poem, shelved that project for others. And then I came back and I wrote that, why I'm right. And then I wrote something else too. And then after all that, I was like, I've tried all these little false starts. Time to shelve this whole thing and go to Puerto Rico. With Shah in New York, I was starting to get horny, starting to be too much in my head and too much. I think any guy goes through this after the breakup or when you're alone and you're watching a lot of internet porn, or even not even that, you're just so horny, you're just waking up and masturbating, or you got this like impulse, procreate. And I'm like, I need to go live life, because that's not a strong enough impulse for me to go get a job and reintegrate in society. But I was like, where can I go and be myself, be in nature, get wisdom from nature? These books are too much. This politics stuff is too much. And beautiful women too. The Caribbean. I had a friend in the Caribbean. And they were like, it's beautiful. It's naked weather. Everyone's running around in bathing suits. And I got a job for you. If you get down here, you could maybe be a tour guide. I was like, fuck yeah. And I I got her bike. I brought her bike for her birthday, packed it up, surprised her on her birthday. Said, "Here's your bike. You were telling me you wanted it." And then she put me up in a place for a week, and then I got a job and a bunch of other stuff. But now I'm gonna go on to the poem that was attached to this picture.